Okay, hi everyone. For those of you who are on a little early, can you tell me if you can hear me clear? Um, you can put it in the chat. If you can hear me, say yes in the chat. Okay. Um, can you all let me know if you can hear me? Okay, I didn't know I needed to admit people. Can you all let me know if you can hear me? Okay. Um, hey guys, can you all let me know if you can hear me? No, I don't want to do that. This is really, I don't know why it's doing this. Okay. So I'm going to assume you all can hear me. If you all can't hear me, I'm going to take you. All right, let me mute. Um, okay, it is making me. Um, oops, sorry. Okay, can you guys mute yourselves, please? Thank you. I don't know why. Okay. Thank you, Kimberly. All right, so can you all see me? Because it took off my little talking head, which is weird. I don't know why it did that. Okay, you can see me too. All right, cool. I can't see myself, but I'm gonna go ahead and get started. Um, Let me just make sure because for some reason it's making me have to put people in the waiting room, which is weird. Okay, so thank you guys for joining the webinar. Just to let you guys know who I am, if you do not know, I am Naja. I run a boutique credit restoration company. My company actually specializes in credit repair and debt settlement for future home buyers, but I also have clients that just want, some people just want to get in the 700 club. Some people that just want to, get their finances in order and kind of just, you know, just position themselves better for, if they want to purchase a car or whatever's needed so their scores can come up. So before I get into the actual class and how this works, the first thing I want to let you guys know is you need to take notes. This is not going to be a presentation where it's going to be sent to you afterwards. You will have the option if you want to purchase this, because I'm recording it, so you can purchase it. But I really recommend that you all take notes, because some things will pertain to your situation and some things will not. The other thing, just to let you guys know, I'm pretty informal with the way that I do things. The other thing is I do offer these classes. I do them like once a quarter. This is the second time this month I did this one, because the first one went really well and people had a whole lot of questions. The other thing I want to be clear about is this is the process that I use for my business with my clients. I know there's a lot of information out there on the internet and a lot of these different Facebook groups, and you may have family members or friends that tell you different things. So this is specific to what I do. When I do open it up for questioning, I would prefer, like, if somebody else taught you a method or shared a method with you guys, I really don't want to address what someone else is doing, because I can't say what's right and I can't say what's wrong. I can only speak to specifically what I do as far as collections when it comes to my clients. The other thing too is when I open it up for questions, please only make sure your questions are specific to third-party collection accounts on your credit report. I'm not going to discuss charge-offs. I'm not going to discuss anything in litigation. It has to be specific to third-party collections. And the reason why I'm saying that is because last time we did the call, people were all over the place with their questions, and it became kind of confusing for other people. So this is specific to third-party collection accounts. So I think that's pretty much all as far as, what I wanted to say prior to. Also, the way that it works is I'm going to go over the process, and then I'm going to open it up at about 7:45 for a few questions. And again, please keep it specific to collection accounts. So the first thing I want to talk about is, what is a third-party collection account? What is the process for it coming onto your credit report? So what usually happens in most cases is a consumer or individual has an account. So let's just say a credit card. A credit card, let's use Capital One. Credit card account with Capital One. The account went past due more than about 120 days. Capital One tried to contact the individual by phone, email, by mail. The individual did not respond. What Capital One did, because they could not collect after those couple of months, they charged the account off. I do want to speak to charge-offs really quick. A charge-off is basically an accounting entry that a company does to write off the debt on their books only. It does not mean that you are not liable for the debt. So what happens is once they charge it off, and then, on your credit report, that Capital One account will say charge off, and sometimes it'll still have the balance owed, but by law, they're not supposed to have it because it's just zero at this point, but you still owe the debt. So after they charge it off, about 30 to 60 days later, what happens is one or two things happen. Most of the times for a credit card company, they sell the debt to a third-party collection agency. What has to happen by law is that collection agency has to notify the consumer, in the mail. Most of the time it comes by mail. It has to be done by mail at the address that the Capital One had in this case. The consumer has Well, when they send that letter saying that, you know, we purchased the debt from Capital One, they'll tell you what the amount is, and they'll say you have 30 days to respond to confirm that this collection or this account is valid. If you do not respond within that 30 days, most of the times they will put that third-party collection account on your credit report. So let's just say Jefferson Capital purchased the debt from Capital One for $500. Jefferson Capital sends a letter to the consumer. The consumer telling them that, okay, this is your Capital One account. This is the amount that you owe. We now owe the debt as a third-party collection agency. If you respond within 30 days, and you say, well, I don't know what this account is, I need you to provide validation, it stops the process from them putting the collection account on your credit report, because you have that time frame to either work out something with them, for them to provide the validation for the debt. And most of the time, the validation for credit cards is only going to be like your last credit card statement. But most times people know that, you know, that they didn't pay the account. So you can work something out during that time. And I'll talk about what you can work out once we get into the debt settlement piece of it. If the consumer does not respond within that 30-day window that they give them, they will most likely put that account on the credit report. This is how, by law, they can put it on your credit report, because the consumer did not respond within the 30 days, so they assume that the debt was valid. Okay, so now it's on your credit report. I'm going to show you what it looks like on a credit report. Now, keep in mind, because this is where a lot of people get confused, the initial Capital One account is on your credit report as a charge-off. If Jefferson Capital puts the collection account on your credit report, it's going to be a separate account that says Jefferson Capital. It's going to most likely have Capital One in parentheses, and it's going to say collection account, and it's going to have the amount. So the charge off, the way it's supposed to work by law, the charge off is going to have a zero balance, because if it's charged off, it has to say zero balance. The collection account that Jefferson Capital puts on is going to show collection account and the balance at the time that they received it. And I'm speaking to a credit card account, so you understand how that works. So I'm going to show you what it looks like on a credit report, so you're able to identify collection account. Okay, so okay, so this is a credit report. So this is a tri-merge from Identity IQ. It may look different. Just the presentation of it may look different depending on what, you know, credit monitoring or where you pull your credit report from. So as I mentioned, this is, in this case, the collection agency is Waypoint. The original creditor, or, you know, I'll just call it the original creditor, is Comcast. So it will list here. Now, as you all know, most utility companies like Comcast, you'll see insurance, even medical, you won't see an original account for it on the credit report as a charge-off. But what happens with a lot of these utilities is if you don't pay the bill, you know, after they contacted you, it goes on your credit report. So in this case, this is like unsecured debt, but they can still put it on your credit report as a collection account. So it will show, like I said, the original creditor. It always has the account number. It shows here that it's a collection. It's definitely derogatory, means it's negative on your credit report. One of the things that I really want you guys to pay attention to, and I'm going to talk to you all about what it looks like when you get your dispute results and what you need to pay attention to. If you follow me, you know that negative reporting can stay on your credit report 7 years from the initial date of default. And date of default just means when you made the last payment or when it went into the first delinquency. So what a lot of collection agencies do is they put the date open on here. Like for this example, it says October 2018. It's possible, and in many, many cases, that this is the date that they put it on the credit report or the date that they got it, but it is not the date of delinquency. It's possible the date of delinquency could have been in 2014 or 2015. So this is another thing why it's very important for you all to understand the date of delinquency, because that's when it should fall off 7 years from the date of delinquency. So just because you see something on your credit report, and most people do this, they say, okay, well, this is from 2018. And even if you see down here where it says date last active, it's 6/26/2019. That really doesn't make sense, because if it was open in 2018, there was no payment made on it, the date last active cannot be June 2019 in this case. So that's why it's very important that you follow the process, because a lot of collection agencies know that most consumers will look at their credit report and say, okay, this is from 2018. I know it can only stay on my credit report for 7 years, which means it's not going to fall off to 2025. So most consumers contact the collection agencies and pay it right away. I have been doing this for 10 years, and I have seen where collection agencies will purchase a debt that had a date of delinquency, and it's not the date that they get the debt, it's the date of the original date of delinquency. So if the original date of delinquency was in 2012, right now we're in July, and it comes back that the original date of delinquency was 2012, then they need to remove that from your credit report because it's July 2019. So that's why I always tell people, when you look at your credit report, don't automatically pay any collection accounts. You want to follow the process, one, because you want to make sure that they can verify the account through the credit bureaus. And this is what I'm going to show you guys the disputes. And also you want them to validate the debt, because you really want to know what is the first date of delinquency and when is this going to come off, because that's going to determine if you want to pay this account or not, depending on what you have to do. Okay, so in this example, so this is Waypoint. I showed you guys this one. This is Progressive. The collection agency is Credit Collection Services. This is Progressive. Now, this is Medical. Same thing. So I'm going to show you guys the first process. All right. Same thing here, Medical Collection Agency. Same thing. And now the other thing to keep in mind, and I'm going to show you guys the disputes, it's not all collection accounts are going to be on all three credit bureaus. So when you do the dispute, you only want to dispute the collection agency with the bureau that is being reported on. And it's very important that you don't dispute for an agency that is not reporting a collection account, because what happens is if you dispute it, they may reach out to that collection agency, and if it's a valid collection account, now you may have that collection account on your credit report. So you have to be very, very careful to make sure when you do your dispute letter that you're only disputing an account that is reporting with a specific agency. Okay, so I am going to show you all the disputes. Okay. So these are the ones that I showed you guys. And so the dispute letters are super straightforward. You don't want to do anything extra. You don't want to put a whole bunch of laws in them. You don't want to, be demanding. These are some simple dispute letters that I start with. And the reason why I start with, so as you can see here, these are only the collection accounts. So I only dispute the collection accounts when I do the first round. I do not add anything additional, any charge-offs, any outdated accounts, like any late payments. I do not. It's only collection accounts. So you only want to dispute the collection accounts. Now, it's very simple. It just says the following accounts are collection accounts that I have no knowledge of. And the reason why, and I just put the collection agencies are in violation. And the reason why it's disputed this way is because you've never made an agreement with a collection agency. You don't know, if they legally put this on your credit report. There have been cases where, let's just say, so my name is Naja Walker. It could be another Naja Walker in Maryland. And what happens with these collection accounts is that they cannot validate the account, so they do not have proper documentation. When they purchased it from the original creditor, what they do is they'll put it on a credit report for me, Naja Walker in Maryland, and any other Naja Walker in Maryland. And when when one of us calls, one of us pays it, and then it's just paid. So you always put you don't have knowledge of it. Now, I want to be very, very clear about disputes. Just because you dispute something does not mean it's going to come off. You have to be very careful with dealing with the credit bureaus, because if you keep disputing the same thing, they will assume that it's frivolous and you're just trying to get it off. And they will stop doing investigations. They'll stop, acknowledging your disputes, and they will tell you that. So you want to do it one time. And you do it the one time and you wait for your results. But let me show you one more thing. The other thing is, when you dispute, and you guys will get copies of these the other thing, if you are not in my Facebook DIY group, please go into the chat. I posted the link. The letters are all in there. All of these template letters are in the DIY group, and you can use these template letters. The only other thing is, when you send the dispute request, you just want to make sure you have your first and last name, your current address, your social security number, and your date of birth. You also want to make sure you provide a copy of your current driver's license and a utility bill. It could be a cell phone bill, it could be a gas bill, electric bill. And if you don't have that, you can use a W-2, you can use a pay stub, you can use a bank statement, but you have to make sure that the address on your ID matches the address on the bill that you send. Otherwise, it's going to cause a delay in the dispute. They're going to send you something in the mail saying you need to provide more verification documents. You also need to sign your dispute letter. Okay, so I showed you TransUnion. I'm just going to briefly go over Equifax. Same thing with Equifax. But as you can see, the TransUnion had 4 collection accounts. Equifax only had 2. So only 2 to be sent are going to be sent on the dispute letter for Equifax. For Experian, had all 4. So let me make sure. Let me just see. Okay. So this one had 4. Experian had 4, but they aren't all 4 the same. So it's important when you do your disputes, I cannot stress this enough. Make sure you are only disputing the accounts that are reporting on the credit bureau that is specific to. The other thing, and again, if you're using my template letter, you don't have to worry about adding in some of this stuff, but you also want to make sure that you request for them to provide a full copy of your credit report upon the completion of the investigation. And the reason why this is important is because they do not always provide a full copy of your new credit report. Okay. And this date says July 1st, but you just want to make sure your date is accurate. Now, when you send your disputes, you do not have to send these certified mail. I know there's a lot of information out there. Send them regular mail. The dispute process takes about 30 to 45 days. What happens is the credit bureaus will reach out to all the furnishers, and the furnishers just means the collection companies that put the information on your credit report. The collection agencies have 30 days to respond and verify the accounts or the accuracy. If they do not verify, the credit bureaus delete the account from your credit report. Okay, now, second thing about the deletion. Just because an account is deleted from your credit report, it does not mean you still don't owe the debt. So that's why it's important to do this second step. But because it's deleted, it makes you want to, because at the end of the day, all you want to do is get a deletion. But if it is actually a debt that you owe and the collection agency can validate it, then you want to start working out some type of payments with them. But I don't want to move too fast. At the same time that you send these dispute requests to the credit bureaus, you also want to send validation requests to all the credit bureaus. So let me show you this. So okay, wait a minute, I didn't show it. All right, hold on. Okay. Oh no. Why is it still doing this? Hold on. Trying to get why is it not letting me? Okay, I did something. We're gonna have to do it this way, guys, because it's not letting me. Okay. So the other step is the validation request. So basically, what you're going to do is at the same time you send a dispute results, the dispute investigation documents to the 3 credit bureaus, you're going to send this validation letter to all 3 or all 4 or all collection collection companies that you dispute. So it's just a basic letter that says, you address it to them, to the collection agency. And one of the things, when you look at your credit report, it should have the address. Well, most of them should have the address of the collection agency. So if it doesn't, you can just Google it and find out, what their address is. It's just basic. So it's just basically saying that, you're not refusing to pay the debt. You're just asking for validation. And as you can see here, the validation, the collection agency is named Commonwealth Finance. But what I put in this first sentence is, what the actual original creditor is. So it says, this letter is being sent to you regarding a listing on my credit report for Randall Emergency Physicians with a balance of $82. This is what you need to update. All of this is boilerplate. You're going to put your name and your address, and it's very important with this validation letter that you do not sign it. You do not want any collection agencies to have your signature because, a lot of them do a lot of, shady stuff. You don't want them to have your signature. So you just, you put sincerely or, and you just put your first name, last name, and your address. Okay. So I am going to get into what it looks like when you get your dispute results back and why this is a very, very important piece of the entire process. Okay. All right. So this is what TransUnion investigation results look like. So as you can see, this is a client that sent me their results, and all of their medical, a lot of their, collection accounts got deleted. I'm going to scroll down to, okay. So this was just to show you guys an example of what it looks like to show when something is scheduled to fall off of your credit report. All right. So this one is not there. All the collection accounts got deleted from my client's credit report. So I didn't have any collection accounts to show you, but I did want to show you the results. So we also disputed Kohl's department store. And the reason why it's very significant that you look at the credit reports, the results, because you see right here where it says estimated month and year that this item will be removed. It says 11/2021. And the reason why this is important is because once you dispute an account or collection account and you get the results back and it says, when it's going to be removed, if you owe whatever amount of money on a collection account that came back verified, and even if it was validated, if it's going to fall off in the next 2 years and you're not trying to purchase a house or, you got time, you make a decision that you're not going to pay it. Now, it's two things that's important about if you should pay an account or not. The law has a statute of limitations on debt, which means when the company can sue you, move forward with suing you. For example, I live in Maryland. If I had a debt with a date of delinquency in, 2019, in 2016, in July of 2016, and they haven't sued me yet, they can't sue me. So it's 3 years in Maryland. So since they haven't sued me now, they cannot sue me. So I have a decision because it can stay on my credit report for 4 more years. I have a decision to make. Do I want to pay this debt? Because if I don't pay, it's going to, of course, continue to impact my scores, but they cannot sue me. So if I decide I want to wait 4 years, I don't have to pay that debt, and it's nothing they can do about it. They can only report it to the credit bureau. They cannot sue me for that debt. If it's within, I believe New York is 6 years. New York has one of the really longest ones. So if it's within the statute of limitations, you have to make a decision if it's not going to be removed, and they validated it that, if you want to pay it or not. Now, I'm going to show you guys, let me show you what Equifax looks like. So, all right. So here's the collection account that was disputed with PRA. And as you can see here, the collection account, here's the amount, past due amount, and it stays on record until October 2021. Now, PRA is a different situation because PRA is one of the collection agencies that even if you settle with them, you can do a pay for delete. So you settle with them, after it's paid, they'll remove it. But this is an example. You see here, it stays on the credit report until October 2021. Client has a decision if she wants to pay this $876 or, make a settlement. And I believe we did settle this, but make a settlement and get it removed. Now, the only thing I want to say about making settlements on collection accounts, all collection agencies do not do pay for deletes. This is what I do with my clients. For the ones that do pay for deletes, especially if it's a medical account, most medical collections, unless it's really old, you can't really settle for it because most medical collections are not purchased. The collection agency did not purchase the debt. They are collecting on behalf of the medical facility. So they don't have a lot of flexibility in settlements, depending on the amount. So most of the time with medical accounts, especially if they're like, under 500 or 400, most of the time my clients will just pay it and we do the pay for delete. Again, depending on what the situation is. If they're trying to get their scores after purchase a house and stuff like that, they need to take care of that. Especially because medical collections, when you're purchasing a house, you can't have any more than $2,000 in medical debt. But also, I try to get them in the best position so they can, once a collection account is removed, your scores go up. It helps with your score. the other thing is you can also, if you decide, what most collection agencies will tell you is the only way we will delete it is if you pay the full balance. You have two options. You can either pay the full balance and do the pay for delete. You can try to settle and do the pay for delete. But I want to make this very clear to you guys. If a collection agency does not agree to settle, and if they do not agree to settle, you can do other things to try to bring your score up. But what I do for my clients is I tell them to settle because it does become an improved account. So it's no longer reporting past due. The balance is zero. And then what I do is once it's updated to a settlement or a paid account, I go back and I do the dispute all over again. Because most of the time when an account is paid with the collection agency, they no longer verify the account on with the credit bureaus, and then it's deleted. Most times it's it's 50-50. But there are a lot of people that say, you shouldn't pay a collection account and settle it because it'll hurt your scores. It's an improved account. It does not hurt your score any more than it already has. So let me show you guys. So I showed you, okay, I don't think I have Experian. Oh yeah, I do. Oh no, Equifax. Let me show you Equifax. Okay, so Equifax looks a little different. So here's that same PRA account. And Equifax doesn't always show you the removal, but what it does show you is the first date of delinquency being reported. So as you can see here, the first date of delinquency being reported is January 2015. So that means that based on this date of delinquency, 7 years from now, which is, well, from then, would mean that this collection account will fall off the credit report in January of 2023. Now, let me show you guys what I was talking about the date open and the date of delinquency. As you can see here, the date open is reporting as September 2015, which is not the first date of delinquency. So the first date of delinquency based on the credit report is January 2015. So this is why I was saying that the dates can always be different. Don't pay attention to this date open because that has no bearing on how long it remains on your credit report. The date of first delinquency is what's important. And when you look at these tri-merge credit reports, a lot of times it's not going to show you the date of first delinquency. That's why you have to do the dispute process so you can get a full copy of your credit report so you can see exactly what that first date of delinquency is. Now, when you receive the validation information from the collection agencies and it does not show this date, for example, your first date of delinquency on your credit report does not match the first date of delinquency on the validation information that they send you, you can dispute that and say to the credit bureaus, hey, this is not right. This is the information that I have. You can send it to them as support and they will change it because it's important that this is reported accurately because this determines when this falls off of your credit report. So the only other thing I want to get into is what happens when the collection agency provides the validation and the collection account does not fall off of your credit report. So what happens is you have to do debt settlement. So you have to figure out, how am I going to pay them? If this is a valid account, I owe it, and I want to improve my scores by either getting it deleted or doing some type of, settlement. I want to be very, very clear about this process because I want you guys to understand how it works. What I do for my clients is we do lump sum settlements and pay for deletes. So what that means is we're either sending, I'm either sending a settlement offer to the collection agency, basically saying, I'll pull one up for you guys, but it just basically says, let's just use this for example. The balance is $367. I would like to offer, I go in really low, depending on how old it is. I would like to settle for 40% of the debt, and I can make the payment can be made within 30 days. So for example, this was $368, half of that is like what, I can't count right now. So $368, it's like 175 or 180 or something. So, and then I wait for the response. It goes, it come back to my client. And if they say that what I'll put in it though is it will be deleted from the credit report. Most times they will come back and say, we will accept the settlement, but we will not delete it from the credit report. We will update it as settled in full. Most of the times we accept that because, like I mentioned, even if they update it to 0, we can go back and do the dispute again and hope that it falls off. If it's a collection agency like PRA, Midland Funding, I think LVMV, Resurgent, they will delete. They have delete, pay for delete options. So even if you settle it, they will delete it. Now, the other way to resolve a collection account, let's assume you don't have a lump sum payment sitting around. I always say wait till you get a lump sum to pay it, because you're more likely to save more money by doing a lump sum one-time payment. And if you really got the money, you can jump on the phone after they validate it and say, hey, look, I got this $100. I'm just saying for this account, I got this $100 or $150. I can pay it right now. If you all can, we can settle this account. Most of the time they'll take it, depending on how old it is. Now, when you contact them, you just have to let them know you had a financial hardship. That's all you really got to say if you want to call them. And you say it in the letter too. Now, the other option is a payment plan. I do not like payment plans with collection agencies, because what happens is if you agree to a payment plan, you are actually re-aging the debt. So for example, let's say for this $368, my client wanted to get on a payment plan and pay $25 a month. Just, that's within in their budget. It sets them on a plan to, to take care of it. Once they make one $25 payment, they'll keep in mind the date of delinquency on this is 2025. So if they don't pay anything, it'll fall off in 2023. If they agree to a payment plan and make a payment in August of 2019, let's just say they don't make the next payment. That means that now you've re-aged the debt, and it's not going to fall off until, this is 7 years, 2026. So I try to stay away from payment plans, but I do understand that they need to, some people need to do that. It works better for them. But also just understand, once you make a payment arrangement and you make a payment and you miss a payment for whatever reason, it re-ages the debt. And so what I tell my clients is, if you want to get on a payment plan, let's just say you got an extra $50 right now that you can put towards the debt. I mean, paying monthly towards the debt. Only negotiate to do $25 a month. And set it up on automatic payments, because you don't want to miss it. Because that's what they want you to do. They trick you into doing payment plans so it can re-age, and they know they can. Now they back within the time period. Not only does it stay on your credit report for 7 years, they can actually move forward and sue you. So you just want to make sure, if you get on a payment plan, you want to make sure you can stick to it. But I always say save up until you can get on a lump sum, make a lump sum payment, and settle it. So that's pretty much the way that it works, and how I have like a really high rate of deletions for collection agencies with my clients, as you all can see from the example that I gave. But you know, it's the main things that I want to drill in you guys' head is do your disputes by mail. Do not do them online. Do not call. Your first round of disputes should go by mail. You want to make sure you dispute only the collection accounts that are specific to the reporting on with the individual credit bureau. You also want to make sure you pay attention to your dispute results, because if something is scheduled to fall off later this year and you're not trying to purchase right now, let it fall off. You don't need to pay it. I mean, I've saved my clients so much money by just, you know, once I get the results saying, hey, if you're not trying to purchase in the next year, the next two, and something's about to fall off, just let it fall off. You don't need to pay it. They can't sue you. Just let it go. And then focus on other things to bring your score, which I'm not going to get into right now. This is just collections. The other thing is important is the lump sum. If the accounts come back validated, they validated the account. Most of the times, I also forgot to say this, most of the time when when you send a validation letter, if the collection agency can't validate it, it will be deleted from your credit report. They will remove it. They will send you a letter saying it's going to be removed, or you're going to see it when you refresh your credit report, you're going to see that it has fallen off. The other thing is, like I said, it's very important with the payment plan. You don't want to get on, like, if you can save your money up to do a lump sum to get it off, then that's all good. But a payment plan is a very tricky thing. It's like I said, because they can re-age the debt if you miss a payment, and you don't know what your future, hardships are going to be. So if you do get on a payment plan, like my daughter had a collection account that popped up because she didn't tell me about it. She was in college. She didn't tell me that the bill came to her. I called them and I told them, she's a college student. She can only send $10 a month. And that's what she did. It'll fall off when it falls off, but she's going to pay that in full. But it's something that I did kind of like right away. The other thing that I actually didn't touch on is what I talked about at the beginning, when you receive a collection letter from a collection agency initially for a debt, a debt that is not on your credit report, what you can do to avoid it getting on your credit report is, if the debt is validated, like once you get the collection letter, immediately send them a validation letter. Send them a validation letter. If they are able to validate it, because like I said, it delays the process of them putting it on your credit report. So requesting a validation ceases them from moving forward with collection. The next step in collection is putting it on your credit report. So if they send you back that information and the debt is valid, you can contact them and say, all right, I want to either make a lump sum payment or I want to get on a payment plan. Again, this is when it's the initial, not like years have passed. And you can get on a payment plan. Like I have clients who did this and they send in like $20 a month until it's paid in full. It's not on their credit report, but you have to make sure when you get on that payment plan with them, they acknowledge that they're not going to move forward and put it on your credit report. That is very, very important. And any arrangements that you make with them, make sure you get them in writing prior to making any payments. So that's pretty much the process and how it works. I am going to open it up for questions. So let's see, how do I do this? Okay, I'm going to open it up. If you are not going to ask a question, one, you can ask it in the chat if you want. I'm going to open it up for questions. If you're not going to ask a question, actually, I'm going to do it like this. If you want to ask a question, please raise your hand in the chat and I'm going to unmute you so you can speak. Okay, so no one has questions. Does anybody have a question? So I'm trying to see if I'm doing this right. All right, let me okay. So Brittany, I'm gonna unmute you. Oh, I see people raising. Okay, sorry guys. All right. So Keisha, I'm gonna unmute you. Okay. All right, it's not letting me unmute you. All right. Okay. Keisha? All right. I don't know why it's not letting me. Okay, Keisha says no questions. Okay. Leisha, what about student loan negative marks on your credit? Okay, so Keisha, I don't know if you were on in the beginning. I'm not addressing anything but third party collections. I am actually doing a student loan webinar. I'm probably gonna do it next month, and I'll keep you posted on that. But I'm only addressing third party collections. Okay, so Brittany. Okay, Brittany, Brittany?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. I wanted to see, you said it stayed on there in Maryland. I was trying to see, do you know perchance how long it stays in the state of Texas?
Um, all right, I have Texas clients, so I should know this. I want to say Texas. Actually, no, but let me look real quick.
Okay.
I think Texas is, I want to say 4 years. Hold on. Okay, yep, it's 4 years. So yes, it's 4 years. So, if it's past 4 years and they can't sue you when you chilling, you already got your house and you don't want to pay that debt and you ain't really tripping off your credit score right now, you don't have to pay it. They can't
Okay.
do anything. They can only continue to report it on your credit report. That's it.
Okay.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. What happens next if the collection agency fails to provide all the requested information listed in the validation letter? All right, cool. That's a really great question. So if they do not, the first time you send, it's up to you. I don't send my first validation letter certified mail for my clients. If I don't respond, what I do is, if they don't respond, I usually call and just say, you can contact them and say, hey, I sent you a validation request. I'm just following up to see if you all received it. If they did, they'll say yes. If they didn't, they'll say no, and then you can request it on the phone. That's another thing too, guys. If you're a communicator, some people don't like to deal with collection agencies because once they get you on the phone, they can be, really aggressive. But if you're real stern and you don't get caught up in like them trying to, because they'll say, you have this debt, how can we take the payment right now, such and such. You can just be real stern and assertive and say, I am calling because I sent you a validation request. Or you can just say, I'm calling because this is on my credit report and I want you all to validate it and send me something in the mail. Now, what I find most of the time is for the ones that are legit, they have sent the validation request. But if it's an old account, most of the time they send it to an old address. So even if they send it to an old address, they still can put it on your credit report because they try to notify you and you didn't update that original creditor that you moved. So if they don't respond like via mail, you can call them and ask them to send it. Now, this is another part, and I don't want to get too deep into it, but if they don't provide the information or the validation for the debt, you could move on to contacting and working with a FDCPA attorney, and I have sent my clients to FDCPA attorneys. So what happens is, and I'm so glad you asked this question. So I'll give you an example. I had a client, collection medical debt was on her credit report. We sent a validation request, and we did a dispute. It didn't come off. We sent a validation request, and what they sent was a bill. And actually, the validation letter states, I'm not asking you to send me a bill. I'm asking you to send me specific information. I want to see something from the original creditor that states that I had this contract and I owe this debt. And what they kept sending back was a bill. And the bill was just, their company letterhead, the amount owed, and the original creditor. But it kept saying like some physician's office. What happened was my client really didn't know what this debt was, because the date that they gave, it wasn't tying to when she went to the hospital. So what she ended up having to do was contact medical records. They sent her entire medical history. She had never been there on that date. But because the collection agency, what the collection agency did was a letter was sent to them saying, this is not accurate. I contacted your client. They're saying I don't owe this. They ended up sending a letter back saying that the dispute was frivolous. They kept saying, well, it was a nasty letter. You're just trying to get out of paying this debt, blah, blah, blah. So I sent her to a FDCPA attorney, and come to find out this company is already being sued by consumers because they're not providing validation. And actually they're one of the collection agencies that is not collecting on behalf of the facility. They actually purchased the debt. So they were giving my client the runaround. They're not providing by law, they have to follow these laws that say provide the validation. So what happens is when you go to an FDCPA lawyer, if you're not receiving the validation request that you're asking for, what happens is it's $1,000. You can receive $1,000 per violation. So for my client in this situation, I've sent two to a FDCPA attorney. The process takes about 2-3 months. And most of the time they settle. And you can receive $1,000, but of course, I don't want to say it's pro bono, but the attorney gets paid based on the settlement or the payment for the violation. So if they don't, then you would have to move forward with getting the FDCPA attorney for that situation. Okay, so I hope I answered your question. Thank you. So this was a good session. I need to review my credit report, then I will know how to address my hits on my credit report. All right, so let me just, are there any more questions before I close out? Because I have a couple of things that I want to say to you guys. It is very important with this process, even though I teach it, it is very important with this process that once you start it, you stick with it. I tell people all the time, even if you start, it can be, depending on how many collection accounts, depending on how busy you are, it can be overwhelming. I do this like all the time. And what I want you guys to understand is if you start, don't stop. So if you have to do one collection account at a time, like one dispute with the bureaus for one collection at a time, the validation for one collection at a time, the settlement or the resolving the debt, one collection account at a time, do it that way. If you know that you don't have the time or you fully don't understand this process, you don't want to do all your collection accounts at one time. It can become very, very overwhelming. And that's why you have credit repair companies like myself, because people don't have time. They start the process, they don't stop. And the next thing you know, they're in a worse situation than they were, prior to starting. So a couple of things that I want to wrap up here. Like I said, join my DIY group. All the letter templates are in there. The disputes, the settlement templates are in there. And it's also really good. Like if you have any questions after this call while you're working through the process, because I did this on July 1st. And, you know, people in the group were commenting and saying what they've done, and they were asking questions in there. You also have the option of, if you don't feel like that you can handle this process on your own, of course you have me. If you want to move forward and do a consultation with me to have me handle the process for you. And we don't just, if you become a client, I don't just do the collections, I do everything. We deal with everything, you know, student loans, charge-offs, everything on the credit report, but this is just specific to collection. You can actually schedule a consultation with me. I put that link in the group as well. And what I'll do is, if you schedule a consultation with me and you put webinar in the discount or how did you hear about us option, you will receive $100 off the enrollment or the credit report audit. So usually what I charge is $150 for the credit report audit, which is what is due at the initial sign up. But if you sign up and, you know, you put webinar, we'll waive $100, and the sign up will only be $50, and then it'll be $100 a month, and there's no commitment. I think that is pretty much it. Let's see. Yeah, and we finished at 9. Oh, also, if anyone wants to purchase this recording instead of, you know, if you didn't take good notes and you want to purchase this recording, it is going to be available for $35. And what you can get is, if you don't join the DIY group, I'll still send you all of the template letters. And I also put in the chat my PayPal. It's contact us at mycredibility.com. If you want to purchase it for $35, I will send it to you within 48 hours along with the letters. And you just put in their you can just put on their webinar and, you know, make sure you have your email address you want me to send it to. So I am going to sign off. I really hope that this was a good webinar. You know, okay. Okay. Wait a minute. I got a question. Let's see how I do this. Okay. Shanika. Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I tried to unmute you, and I'm not sure why you. Okay. Well, so like I said, thank you guys for joining. I'm probably gonna, you know, I don't know if I'm gonna do another one of these. Like I said, I will be sending out, since if you register for this one through Eventbrite, you will receive all my DIY webinars going forward. So just be on the lookout. And again, thank you guys for joining. I hope I explained the process really good. All right, bye-bye.